So today is the story of how 2 weeks before our wedding, we almost didn't get married twice. I just got very bad news from the civil status office. You're actually not legally here. Today I don't feel 100% sure that I want to marry him. For every couple, I think the weeks leading up to the wedding is just extremely chaotic, but apparently if you're marrying me, it's like a little bit more chaotic. So welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I occasionally make videos about my old journals where I flip through and just read to you all of the deep, intimate thoughts that I was writing down through all of the big life decisions and events in my life. Just sharing my story and what I've learned with you. So this is, I believe, part 5. If you haven't watched the other videos previous to these, you can check them out here on my channel. And let's just kind of dive right in. I'm gonna flip through this journal, which is the one kind of surrounding the time where we got married in and things like this. So let's talk about some of the crazy ups and downs that I was going through 2 weeks, or if you want to be really exact, 17 days before the wedding. August 8th, 2018. So that is exactly 17 days before the wedding. So I'm just gonna read. I wrote, I just got very bad news from the civil status office. Evidently, I am illegal here in Switzerland. So many emotions and thoughts are running through my mind. I have no idea exactly what that means. But I know that you want me here, God. And I know that I'm supposed to be with Matthias. Also, you're good. I can count on that. I can trust that whatever happens, good will come out of it. You said that it will be beautiful. I believe you. Then the very next day, August 9th, still no news from the civil status office. I'm really trying not to think about it as much as possible until I really know what's going on, but in the back of my mind it's really weighing on me. All throughout the night I did feel you though, telling me that it will be okay. So let's talk about a little bit more what happened, because I didn't write very in detail. So on, I think this day, or maybe it was the day right before, I went with one of my friends who was helping me plan the wedding, and we went to the flower shop to order flowers. So we did that, and I brought the inspo picture for my bouquet and all of those things, just really the fun details of the wedding. And we were kind of going on the way home, and we were like, oh, we might as well just like do an extra loop and swing by the civil status office and check on our marriage papers and everything like that, since I've not heard anything. And so we went in there, and then I don't remember very much about the conversation, but I just remember, like, in my mind I could just see the woman's face who was working there, that she was kind of like, yeah, some things are kind of off, or I think she said something there that it wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to get married there because of some stuff. And so I was just so shocked in that moment, like, what in the world? And like, I told her, like, we were just ordering flowers for the wedding, and how can this be, whatever. So she was very compassionate, and but yeah, we went home, and then I think I got a call later on that day, or I think they probably called my fiance because language barrier and all that stuff. So what happened was, previous to this, and there's a whole video about that as well, but I was in art school in Italy, and so I got a visa to be in Italy. But a visa in what's called the Schengen area, it is like many countries included in Europe are all kind of lumped together, and so when you're crossing borders, you don't necessarily need to like show your passport, or it's kind of this whole thing. And so it was like Italy, like I had a Schengen visa technically, and so I could legally be in the whole area for a year because of my school visa. And so, but when I moved away from Italy and moved to Switzerland, I didn't notify any office or anything like that, and so, which I definitely should have done. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but it was just like life was happening. No one checked me at the border, whatever. I'm getting married, it's great. And so they then were saying, like, you're actually not legally here in Switzerland, like you don't have a visa, you can't be here, whatever. But I think the way that it all worked out was that they just counted from like my train ticket, like the day that I came into Switzerland, moved here, basically. They counted up the 30 days which I would be allowed to be on a tourist visa, and that would have reached until the 28th of August, and our wedding was the 25th of August. So I literally had 3 days to spare in which I could legally be here in Switzerland and get married. And so that did thankfully all resolve within a few days, so it wasn't like such a crazy show, but it yeah, it definitely threw us all for a loop. I mean, we'd already paid for like most of the wedding, put down all the deposits and everything that is like, and then suddenly 2 weeks before the wedding, you're like, this might not even legally happen. So let's flip ahead a little bit further and see what other crazy stuff might happen. Why is it August 17th, 2018. Today has simply not been a good day, and I don't exactly know why. Part of it is because I have a headache and physically don't feel well, but in the last few days, emotionally, I just am not very good. I think it has a lot to do with Matthias and the amount of time that I've spent with him or felt emotionally connected. Honestly, his busy lifestyle really bothers me and sometimes hurts. Why does it feel so hard to get time from him? Why is it so hard to get attention from him when we're around other people or when he's not here? It just really always feels like I'm not first for him. Other people and other things still feel like I'm competing with them for his attention. I'm simply really afraid that things won't change. I hate to say it, but today I don't feel 100% sure that I want to marry him. It's a hard and stupid sounding phrase to say out loud, but if he loved me enough, then I would be enough for him, and he wouldn't need so many other friends and connections. It always feels like I'm his leash, just trying to keep him here with me, and I don't want that for the rest of my life. I want life to be together. I want to build a home together, not me being at home and him going away to other people, or me trying to hold him back. When we're home, I want to be home. When we're going somewhere, I want to be going somewhere. But I feel like I can't really let him go or fully go with him and support what he's doing until I'm sure that he's actually happy just being at home with me, just being together. And then the very next day, August 18th, I'm pretty sure I had a conversation with him in between these 2 days. So August 18th. My heart is exploding again in a really bad way. I'm so tired of it happening, but I just can't figure out how to make it stop. I feel so much more pressure also because of my talk with Matthias yesterday when he said that a lot of time spending time with me is not very fun because of my moods. I can completely understand why, but I don't know how to change that. I was perfectly fine yesterday, but then today came. They moved everything in. I think they moved just the very rest of Matthias's furniture and his things. They moved into the house that we would be living in together. And then we went and had lunch. It was all great. The plan was then that he would come back with me and make sure everything is in place. But then he decided not to because his apartment needed cleaning as well. So now he's going to his bachelor party this evening. I'm really excited for him because I know he will love it. But now I'm at home and my heart is exploding because I feel very lonely and sad that I don't have any of my good friends here to celebrate with this evening. And I think he will enjoy this evening more than any date night with me. The thing I'm afraid of is just that it won't get better ever. But Jesus said that I don't need to be afraid of that. And then just on the very next page, August 20th, so skipping one day from that last entry. Less than 5 days until my wedding. It's unbelievable. And I feel extremely happy. My emotions, man. I mean, it's great that I feel happy, but like after the last entry, oh gosh. Sometimes I for sure don't know what to do with all of these different emotions, but it really is wonderful. The next entry is August 24th, in which I write, "This is my last morning waking up as Abigail Stallings. This afternoon I'll become Abigail easily. Tomorrow is the ceremony." And I think that's where I'll leave off for the next video, maybe. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of break all of that down a little bit and talk about, really crazy things that I was feeling. It's really quite crazy to tell your fiance 8 days before the wedding that you're not sure that you want to marry him. And as I wrote, the reason for this was I was constantly feeling like I was somehow his leash, or just always trying to pull him back. He was always wanting to be with other people and work on other things, and he had a very busy social life and very busy work life and everything like that, and was constantly going, and I was constantly like, hey, just be with me. I want to be romanced, and I want to like literally just spend time with you and have time and not constantly feel like I have to fight for your attention against all of these other things. And that is how I had often felt with him. And then I think it kind of happened again and again, like maybe a little bit close together. I was also probably very emotional. I had just gone on birth control pills and I was just all over the place. And I think it just kind of like settled in my mind of, this might never change. I might live like this the rest of my life, and I know that, and looking in the mirror, I'm like, we both know that you're the romantic type, and you want time and love and connection, and you will not be happy without those things. And if you're constantly needing to fight for that, then you might be marrying into a really unhappy life. And obviously that thought really terrified me. And I think an extremely important detail about that time in both of our lives, which I didn't necessarily have in mind then, but it was, my fiance, Matthias, had an extremely full life. He had only lived within 2 different villages right next to each other for his entire life. He went to school there, he went to church there, he had his family there, he had his friends there, a very full-time job, and he was involved in ministry, and he had loads of friends and requirements everywhere and all these things. Like, he had his life completely set up as a young, capable man, even before he met me. And then I came into his life and I had none of that. I left behind my family, my friends, even my language. I couldn't even speak the language to socialize well with other people. And I had no church. I had no job. I had no other projects that I was excited about or working on. Literally, my entire life was just him. And so there was a huge disbalance there of him just trying to fit me inside of his already very busy life, and me having no life at all, and literally the only reason that I was living there was because of him. And so of course I was gonna feel that way, and yeah, it's not that, me saying that isn't just like giving the excuse for everything and like, oh, that's, that was all okay and whatever. I think we definitely could have done things way better than we did. But yeah, that was just the fact, and that is, I think, why my feelings were so heightened, because I didn't see a life for me other than just sitting at home with him. That is the only thing the only place where I truly felt home and secure and safe. And in order to have that, I felt like I was always trying to fight for it. I, of course, wasn't thinking logically enough to zoom out and look at that situation in that light. It was just, this is the way it's always been, this is probably going to be the way it's always going to be. And simply said, I was very afraid that it would never change, that this is the life I was marrying into, and so I told him I wasn't sure that I wanted to marry him anymore. And I did just want to make a quick side note there. I actually remember my dad telling me, I don't think it had any kind of connection here, like him telling me that induced this conversation, but one very valuable thing that I remember my dad telling me when we were just talking about some of the wedding and things like that is that he said, just remember, you still can say no, you're not married yet. I knew my dad totally supported our relationship and our marriage and everything. There was no like hidden motive of, I don't want you to get married or anything like that. It was kind of his way of saying, even though like all of the money and all of the plans and all of the other people you're trying to please, it doesn't matter. You just need to think about yourself, and you still can choose out of this. I think it's extremely healthy to be able to do that and not just feel trapped because you already spent the money or you already sent the invitations and what will people think? Like, no, you need to just stand up for yourself and do what you know deep down is the best. Okay, so let's talk about why I still married him despite all of this, because I obviously didn't just tell him no. So to be honest, I don't remember a ton specifically about the conversation that I had with him when I told him that I wasn't sure I wanted to marry him. I know that I used pretty much those exact same words, and I do remember a very kind of shocked look / furrowed brow on his face and him just kind of going a little bit into freeze mode when I said that. But I don't remember a ton of what happened after that in the conversation. All I know is that somehow we were just able to kind of clear things up. And I also think that me saying that to him was a big part of me just needing to feel heard, and that I knew that he knew how big of a deal this was for me and how serious I was about it. Okay, with that said, skipping on, I think that in any sort of situation like this, you kind of need to take into account the whole person and not just this specific situation. It's not just exactly what he did, like how could he do that or how could he say that, because people do loads of things for loads of reasons and it's not always conscious and it's not always because of the type of person they are, it's just their reaction in a specific situation. So you need to look at the whole person. What kind of person is he when he's under pressure, when he's calm, when he's happy, when he's angry, when he is confronted, all of these things. What type of person is this man really? And by this point in our relationship, I definitely knew him very well. We had been together for like at least 2 years, and for at least 80 to 90% of our relationship was only talking, because we did long distance. All of our relationship was just this very intentional, me talking to you and you opening up and sharing to me. And he had been so open and so honest with me about so many things that he would never share if he was hiding other stuff. And I knew I completely trusted him. He was and is the type of man who is willing to work on himself and willing to accept correction, both from me as well as from other people in his life. And I had seen a pattern in his life, which I think was a characteristic that really attracted me to him, was that he had, for a huge part of his life, always sought out mentors or people, like older men that he could learn from, and he would regularly drive pretty long distances to go and spend time with these people that he wanted to learn from and he wanted to grow and he wanted to be like. And he, even before he met me, as well as throughout the entire time that he was with me up until that point, he was always putting in a lot of work to work on himself, to be the best version of himself that he could be. And so this is like a massive part of this person. And so I could see, not just in the situation and not just because I said this thing and not just, because of specifics, like the big picture, he is humble. He is willing to work on himself. He cares about me and he will put in the work to make me feel safe. Like, I knew that this is a value that he has. This is a part of him that I can trust. And so even when I feel this way, like I feel like you don't care about me, or I feel like you always want to go other places, and I'm afraid that it will always feel this way, I know that I can express that to him. And part of it also lies on me, that I think I didn't express that enough to him and didn't actually show him how big of a deal it was to me up until a week before our wedding, which, wasn't great. But I knew I can express this to you and you will listen to me and you will say, okay, yeah, I really see what you mean. I'm on it. I'm gonna do all that I can to change this and to make you feel safe. And I think that's really the main reason why I still married him. And even looking at, like, this one wasn't the only flaw that he had. Like, there were lots of other things that were kind of hard for me to deal with, or that, whatever. But this was the defining factor for me of like, when do I draw the line of saying I want to marry the best person that I can find, but all people have flaws. And like, I could see he has flaws in all of these different areas, but in this one area, this makes me feel safe because I know later on in life, poop hits the fan or whatever, I know that I can trust he's gonna listen to me, he's gonna be humble, he's gonna work on himself, and he is generally a very, very, very trustworthy person. And he does care about me, I do know that, even though he struggles sometimes in expressing it. So that's how I knew that I could still marry him despite all of these crazy big emotions and the struggles that I had in the relationship up until that point. So now, 4.5 years into marriage, after I did say yes to him, do I think it was a good idea? I'm not gonna say that this specific issue as well as other issues were not still a problem in our marriage. It actually has been a very big topic very often, but I also need to say that I have learned that it's probably more my issue than his. So much of it has to do with my own personal hurts and fears and flaws, which just clash with his. And so it's definitely not just his issue, it's mine too. So it has taken a lot of work and a lot of things to go through. And I also must say that all of the sacrifice that I made in leaving behind my entire life to come here and live with him, he has met with the same sacrifice in order to make me feel safe and loved here in his country. And he has given up so many things. He has cut back on relationships. He's had hard conversations. He has stopped doing other things that he wanted to do just to make more time for me and to make sure that I felt loved and safe. And life looks so different from how it did back then in so many ways. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that he loves me just as much as I love him. Best decision I ever made was to marry that man. He's I literally have no other words other than to say it was just the best decision of my life. He is everything I wanted and more. I am happily married. Anyways, I feel like I always love a good story of a couple weeks before the wedding. So if you have any good stories from yourself or someone that you know, leave it in the comments, because I don't know, it's somehow just the drama and the romance and the high stakes that I just love to hear. Anyways, that is my story just before I got married, and we'll probably be talking about the wedding, maybe even the wedding night, and what I wrote in my journal about that in future videos, so stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you around.